Alright, I'm going to move this cruise control over to my all-wheel drive van. Now, chances are it's not going to work, but I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. So this is the cruise control motor here that controls the pedal, so when the cruise control goes in, so all I can do is move everything over that I can, and by the looks of it, the wiring is going to be far too complicating. You get the connection here of all these wires here, but I won't know until I've moved it over. So get all that out of the way here. I can have a look what's going on. And if I can't get this to work by factory, I'd still be able to use this cable here with an aftermarket cruise control for later on. Okay, so first of all, you can see the cable I've got disconnected right there. That just unclips from the back. If you can see how that goes on there. It's a bit tricky to show you, but see that part moving? That's where this part of the wall clips over there. And the top one, if you can see that there. And then you can see where that cable clips on there, that just clips off. And then I'm able to get this whole pedal out of here. And I'll give you a better look at it when I'm taking it out. Okay, well there's the cruise control accelerator pedal. Now you can just see here what I was talking about. This here will just unplug or disconnect. That's easy enough. And just unbolt them there. And this is the part I was talking about, the throttle cable went onto, just slips in there. And it goes into here with a clip. The bottom of the cable goes into there with that clip. And that's pretty much it, it's out. Now I noticed when I was taking it out, when you undo these bolts, I could feel through the pedal as I was undoing the bolt, there was a vibration going through here, and that told me do not remove this bolt like completely out, because it's probably got holding everything together, and it is. So don't take this all the way out, because then everything's going to fall apart on you. Anyway, that's stage one to moving the cruise control over to my all-wheel drive. So removing the cruise control motor itself, I have to remove this bar here, which I've almost got loose. I'm just going to remove that bolt there, and that's going to allow me to get access to the two bolts that's underneath there. So I can undo this. And so with those two off and that out of the way, I should be right. So I'll just get this one out of the way and I'll get to the next two. And that's it. Once I took those two bolts out, she just came out, and those two bolts were in here. So now I'll try and put that in my all-wheel drive and see if she'll bolt in. I'll probably have to swap this whole bracket over, but I'm hoping not. Okay, it doesn't look like I need to swap this over. The difference is this one here has a nut right here and here, and the one on the all-wheel drive only has a nut here, but there's a hole there. So I just need to put the bolt through and a nut on the other side, and that'll work just as well. So I'll get that on. Okay, so it's not going to swap straight in, because this part of the mount here doesn't exist on the all-wheel drive. Everything else is okay, like the bolt holes at the top here. You can see there that there's a nut there that's bolted on. The all-wheel drive has a hole there, so putting a bolt with a nut through wouldn't be a problem there. It's just this part of the mount here would be, I'll have to make something up. I'm going to see if I can just custom fit something into it first, because I don't really want to have to take all this out. Okay, so what I've decided to do is to make this mount, so I could line this up here easily enough, and that will go in. It's just going to make it hard to change the shocks later on. I'll bring it up to that first bolt there, and that gives me more room to get behind there and undo that bolt there, or undo the nut. So I'm going to drill a hole, mount this up my own way, and we'll get it in there. I could go through the hassle of swapping it all over, but that means I have to drop the brake pedal and everything else that's in there to swap this part over. I'll just make this fit how I want it to fit, and make sure that everything else will clear it, and we'll find out if it's going to be a problem later on when I go to put the dash back in. Okay, well, it doesn't look too bad, does it? So just needs a mount at the bottom here, but don't worry about the noise down the bottom here. That's in there pretty solid, but I'll make another mount for it later on after I get the dash back in. Then I'll work out, just make sure that I'm not going to put a mount in and suddenly that mount's in my way. I've already got the problem of this could be in my way. I doubt it, but you just don't know. So I'm going to leave that in there for now as it is. I'll get this pedal sorted out. Next, we'll get that in.
Okay, so I was able to get the wiring harness out. It was a bit difficult following every single line, going through all the wires. I had to take the wiring away from the dash, remove the heater core and so forth, get all that out of my way so I could pull all the wiring out, follow every single wire to where it belongs, cut away wires that I don't need so I could get the harness out, and it's all intact with connections and everything on it, so I can bring it over to now the 90 van and wire it all in exactly how it was in the 95.
First of all, I need to clear back this wiring so I can unpin it and repin it to the other connections where it should belong for the 95. So I'm just going to get a blade for that. Okay, it's a little bit tricky with the tripod in my way there. I bumped it a couple of times now off the knee. Anyway, we'll start off with the easiest one. So this is the wiring for 90, and that's the wiring for 95. So I just got to swap the red and green wire over. The other two stay where they are. So just using a test light here because it's got the point on it. Get in there easy enough. Swap that over from there to there. Okay, so now the 95 and the 98, sorry, the 90 and the 95 are the same. Get that, flip that around so you can see it properly. So that's one connection taken care of. Now the others, I'm not really too sure what wires are going to go where yet, but I do have the original plugs from the 95 in here with me. I just need to clear this off. I already did this job once before with my 95, sorry, my 92 model. I put a 95 cluster in it and I had to rewire it. So whatever wires I can't work out here, I can just go to my van and have a look at the plugs there. I'll put that over there for now. Once I've got all this free, then I can swap these wires over and I'll tape it all back up again. And with a bit of luck, I can give it a test run today as well. The rest of the wiring underneath the dash here from the 95, and it has to be wired to these plugs. So to do all the wiring for the cruise control, I need to make sure everything is done. So I'll get this one done, get this part sorted out first, and then that's out of my way. I should have done this with my 92 van when I did the cluster, bring back all the wiring first, but it was a lesson learnt to know to do that next time I do this, which I'm doing now. And the reason being is because this one here being short, and I tried to swap a wire from this one to that one to this one, and I ended up having the wires pull really tight. They fit, but they're a tight fit. This way, if I do it properly, I won't have that problem. And this is probably only going to interest the people who have to maybe swap their cluster out for whatever reason. As long as you stay focused, this is a lot easier than what it looks. So the 95, which is this one here, instead of 90. Say the first wire is green, yellow, and the next one is brown, white. They're the same. Then black, it's the same. Yellow, it's the same. And this one's missing a connection, and that's white with red trace. And then we got yellow, which is on the 90, and this one is black with yellow trace, so that one has to come out. And then we got earth here, that one has to come out as well. So you got the, what's supposed to be there is blue white trace. Just go again so I don't make the mistake, because there's one missing there. So we got the yellow with green trace, brown with white trace, and the black. So this black has to move over one. Has to move over there to there. And we just double check that we don't have the same type of black wire somewhere else. Okay, so we've got two black wires. We've got this one here that's coming out. Looks like that's the same as that one there. Is it black with red trace or something on it? Looks like it's got a red trace on it. I really hate red on black. It does look like it's got a red trace on it. I don't know how the camera's picking this up, but that's black and it's got red dots along it. I can't see the red trace on this, but I can see red along it where it's been tagged a few times. So I'm going to use that one as the black of red trace, because it has black of red on it, so it makes sense. And that's black of red trace there, so we just need to move that one there over one. And the yellow needs to move over one. So now we've got that's the same as the 95. Yellow green, brown white, black red, and yellow with orange. The earth has to come out of there because that doesn't belong there on this plug. So we're going to leave that floating for now. Okay, so now I need blue with white trace. Find out what that is. Might not have it because the 95 has more wires on it than the 90 does. Now we have this purple one here with white trace. So we'll just have a look at the other connections. Yeah, so that's that one there, purple with white trace. So that's the blue with white trace doesn't exist, so I'll ignore that for now. If I have any wires floating around at the end, then I'll work out what they are, but for now we're just matching colours. So that's that plug that is done, that plug is done. Now we'll go to this one. So red, white trace, same. We got red with black trace, red with black trace, and then just red, and just red. So they're all the same. And then green with white trace, green with white trace, that's the same. And we got, doesn't look like I need to change anything on this connection. And we just got green, that's green. And then we got white with green trace, white with green trace. Red with white trace. These two look very similar to each other. So we're going to leave them alone because it just makes sense. It's just logical that the colour coding had been the same everywhere else, so we're leaving them. So we're back up to this red one here. Next one was brown. We've got brown. And then we got yellow, and then we got, so what you see the difference here is there's two spaces on the 90 and there's one space in between the two on the 95. So all these here have to move over, all these here just have to move over one. The colour combination is the same, just the pins have to be moved over. Now I do believe that there might be an issue with the TACO later on, because the cluster that was in this van is not original to this van. The cluster, the tachometer didn't work. Okay, so always check and recheck. You don't want to make mistakes of wiring. So we got the, well, we already know the first ones are right. So we've got the space in the beginning, and we got the space in the middle. So exactly the same there. Then we're following the colours, which is your green, white, red, brown, yellow. Green, white, red, brown, yellow. And then we've got to go this extra one. This is for the, this is the cruise control wire, this one. Next connection, that one's done as well. So we've got a few things different here. On the 90, this is now going to be the earth wire. So you got the earth line there, and I can use that bit of wire there because the other earth is a bit short. Sorry if I'm out of camera a lot, it's just trying to be over where I am. I can't see what the camera is pointing at. I seem to be working over here more, so I might just adjust that a little bit. That might be a little better. Okay, so first of all, the earth has to go into here. The rest of them we got yellow, black trace, yellow, black trace, and that's purple, white trace, and that's purple, white trace, and then we got red, and that's red, and they're in the same spots as each other as well, so nothing to change there. And we've got an extra wire that was not used on the 90 because that doesn't exist anywhere. And that's purple with yellow trace. But we'll go over them. So I'm going to put the purple with yellow trace, I'm going to swap that over. the black one just needs to move over one, so that earth can come over here. What I did on the 92 was I didn't extend these wires here. I just clipped them all in. Then when I was putting it all back in, it was like, that's when I realised I should have lengthened those wires. Well, that's red of white trace, isn't it? So this is what I mean. Make sure it's right. So we got the yellow of green, yellow of green. And the next one along is the purple with white, and that's the next one along, purple with white. And this one here is red with a black trace. And this one here is red with a white trace. So that's now the same earth. Then you got your black. And this one here is something that I'll work out what that is. It's probably to a light. The only one that worries me here is that why is this one red with white trace and this one here is red with black trace? Everything else is the same. Okay, I just wanted to go over this with you to show you, because my concern was, why is this wire here red white and this one here is red black, if that should be swapped over to somewhere else. And no, I found out the answer and it's perfectly fine. So to work out what wire I went to where here, I went to the back of the cluster and just had a look at both of them and found out that both these wires are exactly the same wire, and I'll show you why. So this is the 91, and you can see that the fourth wire along comes down and that's going to the speedometer, and you can see the two solder joints here, and there's those two screws there that's in line, and that's important to follow. I'll show you why. So I want to go over to the 95 cluster, see how it looks different, but we've got the two screws and the two solder joints there. Fourth wire comes along down here around. So even though they're two different colours, they both went to the same place, so I don't need to move that one around anywhere. And so you can do that as well. Like if you're watching this to see how to swap a cluster over, how to do the wiring, to work it out for yourself, if you're not too sure and you don't have a harness like I didn't on the first time, and I'll show you an image in a minute of my first cluster that I did. If there's a red wire and you follow around and it comes around to somewhere, and let's say it ends up here, but it's not in the right spot for your other cluster, then you follow it backwards from here, follow that to wherever, and it might come out over here, and you go, oh okay, so this wire belongs over there instead now. And you just keep doing that, you work it all out, you follow the pattern of the circuit board here over to the other one. And I'll show you the other one that I did. That's a cluster that I originally did. I got my cluster from UK, and the reason why I got it is because it does miles and kilometers on the speedometer, and it has all these lights. And the airbag light, because my 92 van doesn't have airbags, so I modified that on the inside, so it's just a dot, and I turned that into an alarm blinking light. And this light I didn't use because the faceplate didn't have a picture there of something on the other side, so I didn't work out what that one was. But anyway, you can see how I did this here. So I followed the pattern from my 92 cluster to the 95, and I was like, okay, well this blue wire now belongs over here where this yellow wire is, and that yellow wire now belongs over to here where this one is. And this cluster was a much larger struggle for me because my 92 cluster, for whatever reason, the TCR11, the wiring was completely different. Still had the same coloured wires, but not just completely pinned differently. The good thing is though, I can look back onto the workshop manual. Now, even though we don't have workshop manuals for the right-hand drive TARAGOs, the colours of the wires are the same. So if I was to follow this wiring diagram, I'd probably be right to do the wiring on the back of the cluster as well. But anyway, I'll get back into it. The interesting thing I've got happening here right now is that this purple with white trace is the same as the purple with white trace that's coming from the cruise control, but this van didn't have cruise control, so why does this one have that wire? That makes sense. So I cut this from my 95 and you've got the two wires here that's joining. I'd say that's what's happening here. It doesn't have a join on this one, so that must be a speed sensor, and these two wires have to join, and that's why I'm having that bit of a confusion right there. So I know this clip here is probably going to be a bit boring for a lot of people, but anybody who's going to do a cluster wiring, this is a really useful, important information. Alright, so that should be all I need to do. I plug this cluster in, we'll run the van. I can't test the speedo, but at least it'd be nice to see that tachometer working. And I'll put all these shieldings back on too once I know it's all working properly. Let's see if a few gauges work first. High beam, low beam, all that's working. I'll put it in. Out of gear. Alright, she starts with starter fluid, so that's a good sign. Must need fuel. I've not put fuel on it for a couple of months, so might be dead fuel as well. I'll have to get some fuel on her, and you can see, I don't know if you can see, but on the gauge here, she's empty anyway. So anyway, she starts, that's good. Tachometer works, beauty. We'll get her running, and I'll bring up the temp to make sure everything else is working, and looks like we're happy days. Just another thing I totally paid no attention to until just now. The cluster that came out of the auto obviously has the gear select for an auto. The one for the manual doesn't. So no big drama there. It's just a matter of unscrewing the screws, unclipping the clips there, and then I can swap the front of that completely over, so I don't have the gear select lights in the front of me there. And I'll have the option to just give the inside a bit of a clean as well. Over the years, she gets a bit dusty inside there. So anyway, we'll go to the computer and work out what those extra wires are for and if I'll use them or not.